Hey, what's going on there, guys? So now we're going to move on to our second phase of our runner mobility exercises. So we started with our ankles. Now we're going our ankle and our feet. Now we're going to move up to our hips. So we initially started with the ankle and the feet. We addressed issues from plantar fasciitis to shin splints to if you ever sprained your ankle, like exercises that you can do to help strengthen and rebuild all that stuff so that it could be mobile and active so that it doesn't hinder you in your runs. Well, another issue that a lot of people have is also their hips. Their hips can be a problem. So we're going to put together a sequence of stretches and activations and mobility routine that you can do to help strengthen your hips so that when you run, your hips aren't holding you back. All right? Cool.
So the first thing that we are going to address today is the IT band. We're going to roll out our IT band as our IT band connects from our hip all the way down to the lateral part of our knee. This particular area, when tight, can cause a lot of pain and destruction in our running abilities. So it's very important to make sure that we roll this area. Now, if you want to increase the intensity of this particular exercise as you're rolling, you want to stack both legs on top of each other. However, if you need to reduce the intensity, you'll bring one foot down as I've done so, and I'm primarily focusing on one leg, and I'm using the other leg more to take off some of the pressure. Next, we're going to address our inner thighs, as tight or overactive inner thighs and or weak inner thighs can cause all types of havoc in the hip, causing the hips to be now tight and weak. Foam rolling is a tactic that we use to help break up the tightness in our muscles throughout the body. Foam rolling in and of itself is not mobility training. Foam rolling is merely breaking up the adhesions or scar tissue that is placed upon a muscle, either due to an acute injury or due to overuse, sometimes even due to certain cases of inactivity. We can get scar tissue on our muscles. When we do so, think of it as a scab on your skin. How the skin isn't as flexible, right? You can't move. You know, if you get a scab on your elbow, it's hard to now move your elbow. The bone is fine, the muscles are fine. It's just the skin is really tight, and it creates a lot of discomfort to move in that full range of motion until that scab is healed. Well, the muscle gets something similar called scar tissue. Foam rolling is merely just breaking that up. Foam rolling is not lengthening the muscle, right? That's stretching, that's different. Foam rolling is not going to bring synovial fluid into your joints. That's where mobility training is. Foam rolling is something in and of itself. Foam rolling is merely like a deep tissue massage where you're breaking up these adhesions and you're calling for more blood flow into those particular areas so that they can heal and be healthy. Next, we're going to move on to our Psoas. So we're going to use a small round foam roller ball. We're going to apply our body weight onto the ball and ultimately try to break up them psoas. So psoas are a part of the hip flexor complex. They're a really deep muscular structure surrounded around the hips, right in that little hip pocket there. It's really important for those who sit for long periods of time, but even more importantly, this muscle can inhibit you fully extending at the hip, which, if not taken care of, can prevent glute activation. And glute activation is really important for so many things throughout the body, from just being able to stand up with proper posture, for being able to bend over and pick things up, from being able to simply run, right, without hurting your back or your knees. Your hip strength is really important. So we need to loosen up our psoas so that it isn't contradicting the motion the glutes can do. So once again, we're just breaking up the scar tissue right now, right? This is like prep work. I'm just prepping the body for what is going to happen next.
All right, cool. So guys, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into our actual mobility work. So what I'm gonna do is 45 seconds of actual work and then 15 seconds of adjustment to the next move. So the first position, we're gonna start in our Z sits and we're gonna move on from there.
When performing our Z sits and the alternation of side to side, make sure you let go. You straighten out the back leg first, right? To just open everything up. So you'll straighten out the back leg first and then you tuck that leg in and then bring the other leg in after. You're not trying to do it the other way, it's just more difficult. So back leg and then tuck it in, and then you're gonna bring your opposite shoulder towards the opposite knee. And make sure when you reach out, you're reaching in, not just holding yourself in one position, but you're getting down there and you're reaching further out and getting a much greater stretch in the glutes and the lower back. Good, so now we're gonna do a Z sit with the hip extension and a windshield wiper with the back leg. So sit, and then we get the windshield wiper in there. This has a little extra variety. I mean, we're already getting the hips going with the hip extension when we sit up, but it's also good to just add that little extra movement going in there, because that is, the windshield wipers are doing some internal and external rotation at the femur to be able to move the knee in such a manner. As you remember, the knee is a hinge joint and it doesn't rotate in such a way, so that's coming from actually the hip to do those windshield wipers. But the knee benefits from it as well. Next, we're going to get into this Frogger position with the legs spread nice apart. You're gonna go down in the elbows and we're just gonna walk out and then sink the butt back. Nice, good walk out, keeping the toes together. See how I got the feet together? And then I push the butt back and really try and sink in there. And as every time I go back, I'm gonna challenge myself to go a little bit deeper. But again, those toes together, feet together as you come forward. It's okay if the feet come a little bit apart as you sink your butt back. Now we're going to get one leg extended Frogger. we'll extend one leg straight out, and we'll walk out, reach with those hips, and then push it back, and then stack the hips and lift the leg up. So we get ourselves a nice, good walk out in there, get it nice and deep, and then we will stack the hips, good, and lift that leg straight up. So make sure every time you come down, you reach the foot out further to enhance that stretch. If you notice on my left leg, every time I come down, I make an attempt to reach out just a little bit further so I can get a little bit lower, but then it also gives me a greater contraction when it comes down now to stacking the hips and getting the leg up. Next, we're going to get into our kneeling position. You notice that my ankle is dorsiflex, the leg in the back is dorsiflex as we give ourselves a nice, good ankle stretch, soleus stretch when we go forward and then we come back. So we're getting a lot of different things in here. Right now we're hitting the hip flexor on the left leg when we lunge forward, and we're hitting the soleus of the right ankle, the right calf, right? And then when we sink it back, we're really working on those muscles in the feet, right? And on the left leg to hold myself up, and then challenging the hamstring on the right leg. So as we go in and out of these two positions here, we're hitting multiple parts of the body. Next, we are going to focus on getting a greater stretch in our quads. So we want to also get the hip flexors in here. So you want to make sure that you get a pelvic tilt, right? You grab the foot of the knee that is bent behind you. You want to pull it in there. So you just want to get like a really nice total quad stretch. You want to get your hips forward. Make sure in that pelvic tilt your glute is contracted also. So for me, that will be my left butt cheek. You want to make sure it's nice and contracted, right? And then you want to move in there, right? Get some movement in there also. So you want to slightly lunge forward, right? You can use your hand on your knee for balance, or you can hold on to a wall if necessary. Next, we're going to start opening up the hamstrings. Now, the hamstrings have two functions. They flex and bend the knee, but then they assist the glutes and hip extension. So when we pull the knee into our chest, right, and have the knee bent, and we try to straighten the hamstring from there, that allows us to stretch the part of the hamstring that assists with hip extension. When we do the traditional leg straight hamstring stretches, we don't get into that part. We get into the part that is more responsible for knee extension, or I should say knee flexion, sorry. If you notice, I'm bringing the knee in and I'm extending it out in 3 different positions. So having it where it's like neutral, and then I'm bringing the knee in more towards the center line of my body, on the opposite side of the shoulder, and then I'm going out. So get in there nice and tight. Pull, squeeze it, and as you're extending the knee, it's gonna want to pull away from you. Your job is to keep pulling it in tighter. Do not allow it to pull away. Keep pulling it in tighter. There you go. Nice and tight, nice and tight. Excellent, good. Next, we're going to really now get some movement in these hips after we've loosened everything up. So I'm going to get the big leg circles. So we're just going to have the leg straight up, bring it out, and then swing it down. So leg straight up, we're going to bring it out to the side, keep it low to the ground, and then lift it back up, and then repeat the process, repeat the movement. All right, really open up them hips. You want to do your best not to lean too far forward or lean too much to the side, that we're using the leg to open everything up. Next, we're going to stretch out the glutes. Now, there's many different ways that this can happen. I'm choosing to do it this particular way so that I can get a little bit more total body activation in there. So as you can see, I'm bringing the body nice and tight, and I'm bringing the opposite shoulder in the direction of the opposite knee that is crossed over the leg that is still planted onto the ground. And I'm pulling my chest in. And a nice good stretch, as you still see. I'm keeping the butt off the ground. And then we'll come back out, and then we'll switch to the other side. similar, where we'll walk in, keeping the foot where it is, and walk the hands in closer and bring the body in as close as possible. Now, the tighter you are, the more challenging it is. You're gonna get into that nice tight position. However, work through it. Over time, everything will loosen up. As you can still see, I'm still tight in this position also. Our next move, we're gonna focus on opening our groin area and our inner thighs. As you can see, I'm lifting the butt up. Bringing the soles of the feet together, lifting the butt up, and I'm kind of thrusting into that position as I keep pulling the knees apart. Extend the knees, dorsiflex the toes, get a nice good hamstring stretch in there. So now we're focusing more the hamstring stretch that happens around the knee area instead of prior how we stretched higher up the hamstring. So you dorsiflex the toe, point those toes up, do not point them away. And then the next move is going to be single leg kickstands. So you see I have the right foot firmly planted into the ground, right? I'm not letting that foot move. As you see, I allow the hips to open and then close. As we close the hip and then we open the hip. So what's going on here? So many different things. As this particular exercise can also be used for your feet. However, I'm going to use it here as we internally rotate and then externally rotate our hips to get into these positions. As we now internally rotate and then externally rotate. So internally rotate on the left leg, and now we're going to open it up on the right. As you notice, my foot on the left standing, the kickstand leg, does not move. As I'm rotating in and out, the foot does not move. I am keeping the foot firmly planted into the ground, making sure that I am creating that arch with pulling in that big toe. It may not be as easy to see, but making sure that foot stays firmly into the ground and not letting the foot or the heel lift up.